Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Let's start with a moment. What's that? Oh, all right, we have a couple of members. Gene, you have to hit present. John, Dennis, you're not showing up, and neither is Deb. We do have some problems because when the people that got moved back and forth, he just got it fixed now, so you weren't the old person when you pushed in to talk. He got you moved to the right place, so. Dennis? And I know Terry called me. He's had other obligations today, so he's excused. And Dan Miller is on the phone. Yeah.
I can mark him present, can't I? I got him present.
You did, but can he?
So just the 26 one and.
Try calling in to talk once. Okay, all good. Okay, then we will start with a moment of silent meditation and pledge of allegiance, and please remember all the people.
And to the respect for which one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, I'm back on now. Approval of the minutes for May 27th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Randy Young, seconded by Gene Hoppy. Is there any questions or comments? I gave Pam one correction, excuse me. We only have 27 members on the board, not 29. So, other than that, I see none. All in favor? We'll do it by acclamation. Say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, when I shut mine off and I turn it back on, then it comes back on. Something must be resetting. Public comment. Okay, I see none. We will move on then. Motion to deviate from the.
So moved.
Motion by Dan Miller, second by Kevin Conrad. Once again by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Chairman's report. I had a little. What if I reset all devices?
Can try it. I don't know if we'll keep cutting in and out.
Okay, we'll see if it lasts now after it reset. I doubt it. Let's see. Okay, the first item I was gonna bring up is, we passed a resolution to suspend the board rules on March 18th, and that was for 60 days, so actually the time has ended on May 18th. And after that, the regular rules are back in play, and rule number 22 states that everybody has to attend the meeting to partake in the meeting, except with the exception of one call-in per year. And that would be, Dan would technically be using up his one call-in per year then. Is there any interest by the rest of the board to go back next month and make an exception? I'd like a show of hands, please, or should we just stick with the rules as they are? If you would like us to go back and change the rules or temporarily suspend something again, would you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 members would like to go back and redo the rules again, so that's not nowhere near a majority, so I guess the rules stay as they are then. Back to the original set. Next month, Pam has it lined up then for the county board picture. We'll see how that works out, because I was also going to put on the agenda for next month the Second Amendment, and that's what I was going to ask for, one more show of hands from the board. Should we move the meeting somewhere else? How comfortable does everybody feel if we end up with a crowded room, is what I'm basically asking. Show of hands, do you think we should have it here, or should we have it elsewhere? If you would like to have it here, raise your hand. It's quite obvious, I guess you want to have it here. Yep, not elsewhere. Okay. And the only other I was going to bring up is if you didn't read the minutes at our public property meeting, and we've been talking about it for a few months now, the possibility of using the county farm for a solar site. And the current company that was just kind of fishing, after a little more research, that's kind of all they were doing. They were trying, when I did a little research myself and found out a little more about them, and all they really do is they go around and they find areas that they think would be appropriate to put a solar farm in, and then they get the rights and the control to that. And I found where they auctioned off 2 or 3 other sites then out in New York by the stock exchange. And that's, they were having problems, Tony was, with the language, because they always wanted to keep, they were always worried about their investors, they kept saying, or their successors. Well, we decided that it doesn't really pay for the county to sign up any kind of program with them when they're just going to sell the rights to somebody else, and they were selling these for big money. Most of the offers they were getting were like $2.5 million. So we decided to maybe pursue the avenue ourselves of looking into other companies that we would deal directly with that company, not somebody who's just going to come in, get it set up, and then sell it to somebody else. And we got to deal with whoever they sell it to, and whoever they sell it to, and whoever they sell it to. So if you have any questions or any more of that, that's the reason that was in there. And one member commented to me wondering about why the ad hoc building committee is still there. The building committee is still there because we still need to have one more meeting. We haven't had any meetings for many months now, and we're just waiting for the last little things to be done so we can completely close the project out and close the books on it altogether. And there was some punch list items, and we were waiting for the 1-year warranty, and I believe that time is all up quite shortly, that they have to do any warranty work they did or anything we found wrong in the meantime, and then that will be closed. So with that, I guess we'll move on then. 2, reading of petitions, memorials, communications, claims. I guess I just gotta keep talking steady. You'll get tired of me real fast, though. Okay, am I on? Yep. All right, then we are up to item number 8, ordinance number 3-20. Pam?
Ordinance approving.
Are you on now?
Ordinance approving broadband network projects necessary to be eligible for grant funding. Now therefore be it ordained by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 24th day of June 2020 that it hereby approves ordinance number 3-20 as set forth above, submitted by the Executive Committee.
Motion to approve. Motion by Gene Hoppy, second by Mark Boland. Is there any questions or comments on that? Brent, do you want to have a little quick input into it?
This is just a requirement.
Oh, Brent, wait, I'll get it figured out. No, I gotta try, no. They were on,
Hello,
are you on now?
there I am.
Okay.
This is the PSC requires counties that want to apply for broadband grants through them to have a broadband grant ordinance. And so what this does is make us eligible for broadband grants through the PSC.
Is there any questions or comments? If not, this is basically, it opens up another pool of money from the Public Service Commission that we can apply for and possibly get to go along with funding that we got when we started with broadband. So, if there are no other questions or comments, if you are in favor of ordinance number, actually ordinance, shouldn't that say a resolution? It is? They want an ordinance form, okay. Ordinance number 3-20, you would vote aye?
Vote on the phones.
Right.
I'm voting yes.
Okay, thank you.
And you gotta line us up, Pam. Okay. If you're in favor, you would vote yes. If not, vote no. (26-0). The resolution is passed with one absent. Next item. Resolution number 27-20 to recognize and thank past county board members for years of service.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 24th day of June 2020 that Steve Burrows, Ray Failing, Robert Crows, Michael McClelland, Peter Schmidt, and Rosetta Stern be recognized and thanked for the following years of service. Steve Burrows, 4 years of service. Ray Failing, 14 years of service. Robert Crows, 16 years of service. Michael McClelland, 2 years of service. Peter Schmidt, 2 years of service. Rosetta Stern, 18 years of service. Submitted by the Executive Committee.
Motion to approve. Motion by Richard Perfecki, seconded by John Ainsworth. Boy, this is a lot easier setting up here. I can see everybody better now and see the nameplates and stuff too. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. Arlen Tober.
Yes, I was just.
Mic, please, Arlen, if it works.
I was just wondering, where it says Mike McCollum, he was elected twice, wasn't he? So he should have 4 years. He was on and then he got.
And then he was off and then
and
he was back
off and
on.
now he was back on.
I think we did one when he got off, and now we're doing it again.
Oh, okay.
That's just like if you would get booted off, Arlen, you'd reset and start over again. You'd have to put in another 45 plus years. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions or comments, ready, Pam?
Yep.
If you are in favor, vote yea. If you are opposed, vote no.
Dan's voting yes.
Thank you.
And once again, 26-0. So resolution number 2720 is adopted. Item number 10, resolution number 28-20 to waive, oh. Is yours working now, or do I got to reset you again?
To waive. Hello?
There you go.
To waive Shawano County's objection to the fee to trust application of Douglas and Richenda Miller concerning approximately 2.7 acres of land in the town of Red Springs. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 24th day of June 2020 that it hereby agrees to waive the objection of Shawano County to the Miller fee to trust application concerning the approximately 2.7 acres of land having parcel number 038-14140-0060 located in the town of Red Springs, Wisconsin, in return for the community service hours and charitable contributions to be made by Miller as set forth herein above. Be it further resolved that the Corporation Council is authorized to execute and provide any documents and correspondence that are necessary to waive Shawano County's objection as noted herein, submitted by the Tribal Affairs Committee.
Motion to approve. Motion by Kathy Lubke. Is there a second? Second by Kevin Conrad. Questions or comments? Gene Hoppy.
Mr. Chairman, I think that this is setting a precedent, and I don't think we should do it. That's my feeling on this, because I think we're opening up a big can of worms here. I am not for it, and I hope everybody understands that. We don't go on the reservation and get any land. If they come here, they pay taxes. We're not saying that they can't come here. All we're saying is that if you come here, you're subject to taxes and you'll have to pay them. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I believe the last time, Tony, you informed us of how many of these cases we won?
Yeah.
No. Wait, I gotta shut it off and turn it on again.
Hello?
Yep, you're there.
Okay. Just a little background on the fee to trust process, especially for some of the new members. Fee to trust is where you have property that someone is paying taxes on, but a member of the tribe or the tribe itself, if they own the property, can petition the Bureau of Indian Affairs to have it removed from the tax rolls and placed in federal trust. And that process takes 5 or 6 or 7 years oftentimes. In this case, this gentleman came to us after he filed a petition to have his 2.7 acres put into trust and said, hey, rather than messing around with the process of going through this for several years and having you object and having us respond and having the county lose, as our board chairman, I think, was asking, we've won one of these in the 12 years that I've been here, but it was only for a short time because it got remanded back. They fixed what we noted they didn't do correctly, and it went through the channel again, and then it was passed. So these are just about, without exception, always approved after the process is concluded after several years. We do have an existing resolution that we put in the resolution, 5196, that we're supposed to object to any transfer of property that takes it off the tax rolls, unless there is, and I quoted, there's some sort of payment in lieu of the taxes. These folks, Doug and Richenda Miller, came to us, very nice, I'm trying to figure out a word. I don't want to say older couple, if that offends anyone, but a well-experienced couple who said, I don't want to go through this process of all this, you writing objections and us responding, and at the end of the day, we both know where it's going to wind up. How about we offer you something, county, in return for waiving your objection? In the resolution, they're offering to perform community service. In addition to that, to make contributions to the Boulder Area Historical Society and some other things. The committee believed that that was sufficient payment in lieu of taxes, that it was a good thing, and that they wanted it moved forward to the county board so you could review it to make sure that you felt the same way.
Okay, Sandy Stanky.
Tony, with the community service, who's going to, I mean, I'm sure these people will do it, but who's going to keep track of whether they do or don't?
Yeah, what we can do and what I've asked them to do is report to the Tribal Affairs Committee what they've done and stated in writing that they have done it. But you're right, we're not going to follow them around out there and make sure that they have actually performed 120 hours. So as I put in my note to the resolution, we are a bit on the honor system. But at the same time, they did appear to be very thoughtful, well-reasoned, credible individuals that were intent on doing the correct thing.
And if they don't do it, Too
As I
bad.
also put in my note, if you happen to take a look at that, we're kind of offering an olive branch here. Say they didn't do it, or for example, they passed away and couldn't do it. Once we waive our objection, that can't be undone. So this is really one of those things where the committee, I think, and I think rightly so, was trying to do the right thing, trusting these individuals. It's only 2.77 acres, and I know that any amount of property is important, but at the same time, it may open the door to further negotiations with the tribe so that ultimately something can be reaped from the other 32 applications we currently have that involve larger amounts of property. So, Gene, you talked about it opening a precedent. You know, perhaps the precedent might be a good one. I think that's what the committee felt, so.
well, we already started a precedent with the Ho-Chunk Nation with other things in the past.
With the Ho-Chunk or with the,
Yes.
right, yep, and that's worked out
when
pretty
they did
well.
the donation for the community.
Yep.
So I guess we can go with that and hope it works out the same.
That would be the fingers crossed plan, yes.
Anything else, Sandy? Okay. Dennis Knack.
Would the county be better off making some kind of policy, you know, like here it's 800 a year that they're giving up in taxes for roughly 150 over 3 years that we don't really get any benefit from. Does it become a way to avoid paying taxes when you get older or not even older? Should we come up with some kind of an amount, you know, in lieu of the amount of taxes, a certain percentage for?
I believe once this is done, if I'm correct, Tony, it's into perpetuity. We never get the property back. When they pass away, the property
Yeah,
doesn't come back to the county.
I think it doesn't really answer your question, no, I don't think.
No,
that's-
I'm not asking
no.
about getting the property back.
I think you're talking about setting some sort of baseline, okay, if you're paying $1,000 a year, you have to come up with X amount. We could certainly look at that.
At least everybody coming to you would, you know, kind of have an idea where they stand or what the policy is.
Yeah, we actually did come up with an idea similar to that in the past, and was met with some resistance. So we just decided, the committee decided just to handle it on a case-by-case basis, depending on the size of the property, the amount of the taxes, and the ability of the individuals to be able to actually provide us some payment in lieu of taxes.
Is that it, Dennis?
Yeah, with it not having to pay 800 a year, they should have some flexibility, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, it does save them. Keep in mind, too, that the county gets, you know, just a very small portion of the property tax. And I want to make it clear, I wish Douglas and Rashenda Miller were here so I could reiterate it again like we did at the committee level, that this is just us waiving our objection. If a school district wants to interpose an objection, If the municipality this is in wants to set forth an objection, they can still do that. This is just the county waiving its objection based on its small piece of the pie that it gets, which is, what, anywhere from 10 to 15% overall of the property taxes that are actually collected.
Okay. John Ainsworth.
May have been stated, what approximately are the taxes on this property?
If you look at the fiscal note, that gives you a good read.
Thank you.
Deb?
Basically addressing Sandy's question, ironically, Mr. Miller had the same question as to who was going to police the 40 hours. And at the committee level, I guess we decided the proof was in the pudding because he has committed to keeping those two roads clean. And either they're going to be clean or they're not, and you'll know.
Is that it, Deb?
That's all.
Kathy Lupke.
The committee did have issues of,
Hold on.
I can talk loud.
Try it now.
There? Am I on?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, you're on.
Okay. The committee,
No? Oh, you're on, Kathy.
okay, the committee did struggle on what kind of a payment in lieu should we do? You know, what would be fair? And we actually left it up to Mr. Miller to come up with this idea. And, you know, we had numerous meetings with him, and that's what he felt. And we thought, hey, let's start somewhere. Hopefully, when we go forward, we can benefit the county with other claims. So,
Okay. Kimberly Leffel. No? Okay. Ken Capelli.
Tony, I'd just like to ask about the town of Red Springs.
Hold on.
And their approval or not approval?
That's a good question, and it kind of goes with the comment I had made that we're only waiving our objection. I don't believe the town of Red Springs in this one has voiced an objection to this point. But they still could. And that was my point that I was trying to make before, that we're just waiving our objection. And we made this very clear to them that, you know, whether it be the school district or the town of Red Springs or anybody else that's an interested party could interpose an objection, and then they'd have to continue on that, you know, that several-year process to overcome the objections. But I just want to make it clear, if I have it, that at the end of the day, there's about a 100% chance that we're not going to get any more taxes from this anyway once the process is done, whether it be 2 years or 3 years or 4 years down the road.
Just my concern is that the county is doing something. I'm a firm believer it comes from the town first and then comes to the county, and now the county is acting where the town has not acted yet, apparently.
Yeah, this is a little different than the like the planning and zoning type of case, because our interests aren't necessarily aligned in every case, like with the town of Red Springs. As a matter of fact, in the past, we've differed to a fair extent with them on this particular issue. You know, for example, with the Stockbridge folks, you know, we work really good together on road construction and those sorts of things. So we've got a lot of other issues. So it's, I understand what you're saying, but I think this is a little bit different than, you know, the type of planning and zoning issues where the town weighs in on it first to say that, hey, this meets our zoning regulations, so please, county, pass it because we like to do that. I think this is a little different set of circumstances.
I'll take him back. Is that it, Ken? Thank you. Okay. If you'll bear with me, because now it shows that Kathy Lupke wants to speak, but I'm told really it's Aaron Damrow.
Yes.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, it is. So if we don't approve this resolution today, how much county resources and time will we have to put into objecting to the transfer of the property?
It just, the way that works is it starts out in Minneapolis, where the application is filed, we review it, we file an objection. Ultimately, it goes from there to Arlington, to one level of the IBA, and it isn't there yet. Then we have to review it, and we have to file a response. Okay, and that takes, it's a couple hours or so, for a smaller one like this. For some of the larger ones, it takes a lot longer. And then after it's done with that, it goes through another step in Washington, D.C., in the Internal Bureau of Indian Affairs, where we have to go through that process again. So there's a lot of correspondence involved. Sometimes they direct us to make particular comments to address particular issues that we may have raised, and that can be anywhere from, it's just really hard, anywhere from 10 hours to 50 hours of time, depending on what they want and what they're after.
And the ultimately, we're gonna lose. We put money into this. We're gonna lose, and the ultimate end result.
Yeah, nationwide, the average is about a 99.9% ultimate approval rate, where it gets put in the trust and it comes off the tax roll, and that's about our batting percentage here locally too. So.
And if it comes off of trust, if we don't approve this today and it goes through the process, we're not gonna get them to do any of the community service that we're getting out of them and to donate to the Historical Society either. We won't get anything.
That is correct.
I thank you, Tony. I don't think.
And like I was saying before, it goes with the land, so as long as they're alive, maybe we'll get some of the commitment, but after that, nobody's obligated. Is that it, Aaron?
Yep, I don't have anything else.
Okay, now we'll try another one. Gene, do you wish to speak? Gene. Arlen.
I think my question was a little answered by the last speaker. That legal note of yours, Tony,
Yes, sir.
where I realize if he wants to go ahead and put it in trust, eventually there's nothing we can do about it anyway. But where it says that if we vote on it tonight and we waive the objection, we cannot get that objection back if he just doesn't do any of the stuff he says. Because right now, there's no obligation that he has to do any of that. But we cannot get our objection back if he don't do it.
You've understood the note exactly as it was intended.
So in other words,
The only thing I would mention is, as we talked about before, it is a bit of an olive branch or a trust or a leap of faith. And I think the committee was comfortable doing it based on how credible Douglas and Rashenda Miller were, especially, and the relatives there that showed up to speak on their behalf. Right, and of course, we do have it in writing, but that doesn't change the thing much, because if he breaches that, we can't get our, yeah, he put it in writing, he agreed to it, but you're right, even if he reneged on that, there's not much we could do. But again, these folks really did appear salt of the earth and credible, but you're right, at the same time, there's a very much of a trust factor here.
Okay, is that it, Arlen?
that's it.
Okay, we'll try this again. Deb?
Arlen and committee, we were pretty comfortable that Mr. Miller probably figured his reputation was worth more than getting out of some community service and keeping the road clean. It is. It's a reputational issue, and I guess we trusted him. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Rick Geezy.
So has there been any correspondence with Red Springs or the school district on this?
I know they're aware of it, but they haven't, surprisingly, the school district has never really chose to interact with us. I'm surprised that Red Springs hasn't, but maybe they feel this is one that they're not interested in fighting.
Okay, but they do know about it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Gene?
Yes, the only thing I'm going to say is, how is the people that you serve, that you're representing, going to feel about this? that they gotta pay their taxes and somebody else don't have to. I don't go along with this because once you start this, it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger and you won't be able to deny it then. Because they're gonna say you gave it to Joe, now what are you gonna do it with Dan? I think we've gotta be careful on this and I'm voting no. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if I'm still on, yeah. Gene, that's absolutely, you're entitled to that opinion, don't begrudge it a bit. But please don't feel like because we're doing something in this case that we're bound to do it in every single case, because this is truly a case-by-case basis. So if one of your concerns as you vote is, boy, now I'm gonna have to vote the same way every time on every other case that comes through where they're offering us something, there is no precedent like that is being set here.
Okay, Gene. Now, do you wish to speak, Kathy, or not? Okay, well, keep showing me that you have something to say. Okay. So I'll push Aaron's button and Kathy's will go off and he can speak. Yeah?
It sounds like the memo, the original resolution was back in 1996. Has there been any talk about readdressing our original position? If we're putting through all of this time and resources for something that we're not getting anything out of, no matter what we think of it. If we want the tax base to be as high as possible, and taking it off the tax base when we have no control over it, it's federal law that decides this. Have we thought about maybe doing a memo of understanding with the tribe to, I'm new. I don't
mean
know.
to laugh, but because I see a lot of probably 10 or 12 of the supervisors out there saying, heck yes, we did 3 and 4 times. There just always seems to have been a problem. But yeah, there's been to answer your question is brief, there's been a lot of effort both sides could just never comfortably reach a mutual agreement on how to address the issue.
And if we, I guess it's been addressed, but if we're asking for community service and a donation out of this one, do we want to? Should the Tribal Affairs Committee be looking at a set policy so we don't have to, if we're going to lose every time, debate it every time?
Well, this has been an issue that's been enduring, and it's not been a secret, for the last 20 years or so, that what the ultimate result is. And we've had a variety of conversations with the tribe, with the tribal council, including the idea of setting some sort of policy that overall sets a certain amount per dollar that we lose in taxes or per acre. We've exhausted those ad nauseum and just haven't been able to reach an agreement for one reason or another. And I'm not blaming the tribe, I'm not blaming us, it's just something that has been really, really difficult. And ultimately, as we sit here today, over the last couple of years, we decided to just handle it on a case-by-case basis and do what good we can that way, and I think this is one of those cases today.
Okay, we'll try this one more time. Now, I think Kathy wants to speak, but it shows me that Kimberly wants to, but for some reason Kimberly comes up when Aaron is speaking, so are you there, Kathy?
Am I on? I think so. Aaron, I do have emails. Our next Tribal Affairs meeting is we are trying to set up some meetings with tribal.
Speak into the mic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Yeah, we had meetings set up till the world blew up on us. So we're in the process. We're trying to work something out again, so it's not a dead issue.
Okay. I believe we have no other people wishing to speak. So with that, I guess if you are in favor of resolution number 2820, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no.
Cam says yes.
Okay, we have 1 abstain and 4 noes 21 yes. Okay, it's right here. Resolution number 2820 is passed. We will move on to resolution number 2920.
To approve.
Just a second, now it shuts you off.
To approve Premier Community Bank as a depository for Shawano County Bank funds. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 24th day of June, 2020, that Premier Community Bank be the depository for all Shawano County Bank funds commencing on October 1st, 2020, and for 5 years thereafter, with a mutual right to renew the agreement for up to 3 more years, with the Department of Administration working in conjunction with the Corporation Council to review the applicable agreement submitted by the Executive Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Kevin Conrad. Second? Second by Richard Forfecki. Questions or comments? Brent? Does it work? Okay, just a minute.
Good, yep. We did put out an RFP for banking services and depository. Myself, Nita, Deb Wallace, and Dan Miller reviewed the 5 proposals we got in from the different banks located in Shawano. Not all banks submitted them, but we did have some pretty good requests for proposals from the local banks. And we did, after we reviewed them, this was the best benefit for the county at both making interest on the money that we have invested and the accounts that we service, plus the customer service that when we did the background checks and the reference checks, that it came up and this Premier Bank meets the requirements. And one of the requirements that we have is that it is a bank in the city of Shawano due to the deposits that we have to make on a daily basis.
Okay. Gene Hoppy.
Well, first of all, I think that this should be the privilege of this county board to pick which bank, instead of somebody picking a bank and saying, this is it, well, yes or no. There's a lot of good banks in town here. And why Premier? Who picked Premier? Why wasn't this county board picking it?
It was presented to the executive committee the same as it was presented to finance in the past. Correct?
And Finance Committee is actually the one that advised us to go out and get the RFP when we did this, and then these people went and selected it. I mean, we're recommending. You can certainly choose it whoever you want, Gene, but knowing the interest rate that we're gonna get is the best from them. On our last, and I'm trying to think, Deb, was it March? From our current bank that we had, on $14 million, we had $827 in interest. That's all we earned, $827, and we paid $7,000 in service fees. And that bank is our current bank that we're banking on right now. And they are also located in the city of Shawano. They did submit a bid, Gene, or a proposal for us, but they would not put their pen to paper and try and actually sharpen their numbers and come in with better numbers. They came in with the same numbers that they had in the past. When you have $14 million and you make $827 in interest and have to pay $7,000, they were actually bouncing checks that we had because they said we didn't have enough money in the bank, and yet we had $14 million in there for the current bank that we're with. And that is part of the reason why the Finance Committee told us to go out and shop out the bank, which we're required to do.
I still don't care for that. I think this county board should have the privilege of picking which bank we want. We should have the facts in front of us so we can pick it. We all don't go to Premier Bank. Some of us go to BMO, some go to Covantage. So we must have a pick. Otherwise, we might as well have an administrator instead of a county board. Somebody does everything for us.
There was more people involved than just the administrator that made the decision.
There was county board involved.
And it was the executive committee that it went through. And I don't know what to say. We can't have everything come to the county board. And I said this at the last meeting. This was my first time around of picking who went on what committees where. And when we passed that last year as the rules for this 2-year cycle, I could appoint one person to the executive committee. One out of 27. And I can't change that. That's what the rules that we adopted and passed, and the two committees were combined, so that shrinks drastically the number of appointments that the chairman can make. We adopted it, now we gotta live by it.
Tom, if I can just add something.
Go ahead, Tony.
And Gene, this is not the first time we've picked a bank. We followed this exact same process every single time. And I would also tell you that I think this was probably the best RFP process we've utilized. And I think we've actually had more committee involvement, having a larger executive committee than just a 5-member finance committee. So there has been more involvement, and it has followed the normal protocol that we've always used in the past with some pretty good success.
Dennis Mack.
Don't we have some money invested with some company or firm that guarantees, is there any way of putting some of this, investing with them instead of having that sitting in the bank?
We do, Dennis. Right now, we have $11 million in CDs. Oh, no, I'm sorry, $7 million. 7? Deb? $7 million in CDs. And Arlen has brought this up numerous times. Part of the reason that we had that much money in our account was because the bank, what they call it, a sweep account. They don't have a sweep account at our current bank. And so we were instructed, and we had to maintain a certain amount for checks that would go out, whether it was paying to municipalities, to our health insurance or other insurance that we had to have a certain amount in the bank. But with this new bank, we will be able to lower that down and put more money into investments. And that was one thing that we did talk about at the executive committee and the finance committee before.
Okay. Dennis, anything else?
No.
Jerry Erdman.
Yeah, knowing how this process went, we looked at numerous banking facilities. When you're paying more out in interest than you're receiving in interest, obviously there's something wrong. Premier offered us a better package. They're a strong bank, branches all over. The thing is, we each have a vote here on the county board. It's not like the county board doesn't have a say. We have a vote. But this is the best option for the county currently, given our investments in other places, but this is the best solution for the issues we've been dealing with lately, to go with Premier. So that's it.
Jerry?
It can't get to me any better than what we're doing right now.
Okay. Arlen Tober.
Yes, I know. I was on finance for quite a few years, and this is about exactly the same thing what we did before. But at that time, there might have been 2 banks that would apply even. The other banks never even applied. The other banks won't even go to work and buy our certificates of deposit. That's why we went to a little different system. But otherwise, when it comes to voting, the county board always voted on it, and I think that's what we're doing right now, is voting on it. It can be voted down, and they'll have to go back to somebody else, or go back over and look it over, or you can vote and accept their recommendation. And I think they did a good job.
Or you can vote not to accept it, and it goes back to committee again, same as where it came from. Yes, Tony.
I just wanted to mention one more thing. Gene, if you are concerned about the committee process too, I'd recommend to anyone who monitors the agendas like I know you do, to go to that committee meeting and make your voice known there. That's where the thing should get vetted. That's where things should be reviewed so that when it comes to the county board, it's been vetted and that committee can then be properly respected. So, if you see things on the agenda that you're interested in, go to that committee meeting and let your voice be heard there so they can consider it.
Thank you, Tony, and I'll do just that.
Very good. Thank you.
Rick Easy.
Yes, you announced you had one pick for the executive committee. You made a very good pick. Dan Miller, who's spent his whole life in banking, was a great asset for going through this with us. He knew the ins and outs, and he asked questions we didn't even know about, and he had a great recommendation on it. So I don't know if he can talk on what with the call in here, but it'll be nice to hear from him.
Okay, Rick. Ken Capelli.
Just one question on this. I don't have a problem with it, but it is for a 5-year period. I don't believe we ever seen that before. That was maybe a yearly process or a 2-year process at the most.
No, the banking and auditing the banking has been a 5-year, but because of these exorbitant fees that we were paying, we opted with actually the finance committee opted to put it to end it and give them their 60-day notice with our current bank and go out to bids because of the $7,000 to $827 of what we were paying in fees, having to pay bounce checks for money that wasn't bounced, but because the way the bank had it set up, and then they would have to reimburse us that money back. The finance committee made the motion to go out and put it out for RFP 2 years early. It's normally a 5-year commitment because of the amount of money and the checks and everything else that we have to transfer over, Ken. The banking and the auditing are typically 5-year RFPs that we do.
I guess then the question would be, what if we run into the same situation in the next 5 years?
I was just going to mention to you that it does contain a 60-day cancellation provision. If we become unhappy with their services, that we can cancel the agreement by giving them 60 days notice.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Ken. Randy Young.
Yeah, I'm good with, how the executive committee did it, but as a county board member, it might have been nice to see some kind of table or something of all the banks that responded and what their offers and stuff were so that we could at least just see. I mean, I know Tony said you can go to the meetings. Not all of us can attend all the meetings, but so it'd have been nice maybe to have just some chart that showed 5 banks that responded, what their interest rates were, et cetera, et cetera.
And Randy, a lot of that we get is proprietary. We can't disclose some of the information on the RFPs that they submitted. But I can tell you the 5 banks that submitted a proposal.
No, I think as a county board member, we all ought to be able to see that.
I can tell you who the 5 banks are right now.
That wasn't my point. My point was that we could compare what they submitted as county board members instead of just 8 people seeing it or however many saw it. I think we all, as county board members, should have access to that kind of information.
And that's fine. Just so you know or aware, most of the RFPs were over 80 pages long.
That's why I said if we had a chart that broke all the information down and it was comparative, we could look at it on one sheet of paper to see what the interest rates were, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you're just talking about a chart that contains maybe 5 of the salient points that you base your decision on.
Right, so we could compare, just see it as county board members from one bank to the other, that's all. But I have confidence in what the executive committee did.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. Mr. Miller, Dan, would you like to comment? Are you with us yet, Dan? Nope, I think we lost Dan.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dan.
Would you like to comment on this, Dan?
Sure, I'll just give a general comment quick. Overall, when you were looking at RFPs and things around financial institutions, as well as RFPs for any business entity or service that we're seeking improvement on, the key word is improvement. And when we looked at the banking proposals, it really comes down to three areas. One is safety. How safe are our funds going to be in the case of even worst case scenarios? You're talking about insolvency of a bank. You're talking about cyber theft. We then switch into liquidity. How fast do we have access to our money? Is it unlimited so that we can conduct our business, never have any interruptions in the flow of things? So we have, the ability to write checks, to withdraw funds, deposit funds. And then the final piece is yield. And what are we earning on the money that we're turning over to the bank? Safety and liquidity were pretty much steady across all of the banks that submitted proposals. Where Premier stood out was in the yield area. Their income that they were going to provide to us as a result of our $14 million was significantly higher than all the other proposals. In fact, some of them were in the hole. Now, I'll be up with you on this. Many of the big banks have sophisticated cost accounting systems where they know down to the penny where and what their costs are providing services. As you drift away a little bit to the smaller banks, intermediate-sized banks, they don't have quite the sophistication. So what they do is they try and make up for much of that difference in the yields. They are hungrier for deposits. They like to provide, especially local entities, like to provide a higher return. I would think Shawano County, if it goes that way, we're probably going to be one of their bigger accounts, if not their biggest account. So they're rewarding us for the size of the deposits in order to offset some of the fees. Also, they were the low-cost provider on the fees too. But like I said, sometimes the analysis shows that the smaller banks don't have quite a big a handle on that part of it. But when you combine all of those features, safety and liquidity and yield, Premier Bank definitely stood out above the other proposals.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, then I guess if you are in favor of resolution number 30-20, you would vote aye, or yes, excuse me. No, if you are opposed.
Dan votes yes.
Thank you.
23 yes, 1 no, and 2 abstain, so the resolution has passed. Next item. We have the annual reports from the Sheriff's Department. Excuse me.
Resolution 29, this is resolution 30 for the CDBG.
Okay, my mistake. Resolution 2920 is passed. Resolution number 30-20. Hold on.
To amend Resolution 25-20, which approved the Community Development Block Grant, Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Closeout, and Division of Community Development Block Grant Closed Grants. I can't do it with one hand.
Okay, your other one's back on, I think.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 24th day of June 2020 that the county's CDBG, ED, RLF closeout and Division of CDBG close opportunity grants as described above are hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the Shawano County Board of Supervisors hereby authorizes the preparation, execution, and filing of all documents necessary to effectuate the county's CDBG, ED, RLF, closeout, and Division of CDBG close opportunity grants, empowers the county board chairperson to be the signatory on behalf of the county of Shawano on all necessary documents, and grants the Shawano County Administrative Coordinator authority to facilitate closeout of the county's CDBG, ED, RLF funds and preparation and filing of the appropriate application for funds under the DOA's CDBG closed program in accordance with this resolution. Be it further resolved that nothing in this resolution requires Shawano County to spend or provide any funds beyond those that it has received or will receive from applicable grant funding submitted by the Executive Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Sandy Stanky. Second? Second by Bill Swatala. Any questions or comments? I think I can sum this up. We passed this, I think it was last month, and when it started, you had to have projects that were shovel-ready, and where the money was going to be used had to be in areas that were of a lower income. So we passed it to give 3 projects out, and then we were also going to take $75,000 and put it aside for smaller towns or villages that could use that money for planning purposes, because that's one of the things you could have used it for, was planning purposes. And at first they told us, yes, we could give it out to them 3 projects, and we could use $75,000 of that money to spread it out to other smaller communities and spread it out over the county a little more. Well, unfortunately, somebody at the state changed their mind and said, nope, you can't do that. You can only have 3 projects. So we had to ditch the $75,000 going to where we could try and spread it out a little more. And I believe it was added $25,000 onto each of the existing 3 projects. So are there any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, whenever you're ready, Pam. If you are in favor of resolution number 30-20, you would vote yes. If you are opposed, you would vote no.
Dan votes yes.
Resolution number 30-20 is passed 26 to 0. Next item, annual reports. We have the annual report from the Sheriff's Department and from UW Extension, and they will be placed on file. If you have any questions or comments on them, please direct them to the department heads for that area. A report by Finance Committee on General Accounts and Claims. Just a minute here.
The May invoices paid in the amount of $956,712.79.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Randy Young, seconded by Steve Geets. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. And this we have to vote on, correct? We can't do it by acclamation? Okay. Dennis Knack.
Antigo Public Library, is that for book rental or use?
No, that's the last time we got stuck, Dennis.
Is there any way we can, I don't know, something like that, get even?
They threatened
with
legal
something?
action and everything already. If it gives you any satisfaction, Dennis, I get the annual paper because I'm up in the corner, and they were going to have to change their hours around, and the reason was because Shawano County wasn't paying anymore. That's basically what they said right in the article.
Is there
And I cried when I read it.
Is there anything we do for them that we never charge like we probably should?
We can't. Now that we're consolidated, or got our own system.
I don't mean
nobody
with the library necessarily.
Oh, okay, you're thinking of anything. I don't believe there is, no. We'll have to keep that in mind, though. Ken Capelli.
I had the same question.
Okay.
I thought we got rid of those expenses, and now they showed up again.
We stalled. This was the last payment we would have had to give them, Ken, and we just stalled and didn't pay it, and we were hoping that maybe they would come and say, well, would you give us half of it or 3/4? And they came, their attorney did, and threatened legal action against us, so we figured we are obligated by the laws at the time, we might as well pay it and be done with it. Any other questions? Okay. If not, then you are in favor. You would vote yes. If not, you would vote no.
Dan votes yes.
Okay, the general accounts has been approved then, 25 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent. Report on, we have that. Item number 15, acceptance of committee minutes. Is there a motion to approve committee minutes? Oh, you just accept them? Don't approve them? Okay, well, if there's no questions or comments, then I guess they're accepted and will be placed on file. Item number 16, special order appointments. We have 3 of them to do today, and I believe they shall be done separate because they're separate issues. The first one we would have would be to appoint Robert Kraus from the town of Green Valley to the Board of Adjustment. Is there a motion? Motion by Kathy Lubke, second by Gene Hoppy. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I guess we can do this by acclamation, correct, Tony? These appointments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Dan is in, or Robert is in. The next would be to, and these are recommended by the Land Conservation Committee, would be to appoint Ken Capelli to Washington Lake Management District, and I think we can do these together because they come from the same one, and Terry Tipton to the White Clay Lake Protection District. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Devin Kirzan, is that right? Krejan. Okay, well, I suppose Kautza looks a little funny too. Seconded by Mark Boland. Any questions or comments? If not, we can do this by acclamation then too. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Same sign, motion carried. Okay, board member comments on new business. Do we have any? Mr. Miller, Joe.
Yeah, that, early on, you mentioned you thought you were gonna, in your chairman's report,
Speaking to the mic, Joe.
oh, my bad, I'm sorry. I mentioned prior to the onset of the meeting there, that resolution, potential template resolution on the, it's called the template for local fair maps resolution supporting creation of.
I was gonna bring, I've been getting a good series of these resolutions from other counties that they passed. Jerry's smiling because he got them all too. And I don't know exactly what he did with them, but I thought it should be up to the whole board to decide with each respective committee if they think we should run them through. That's why I sent them to each one. Apparently I gave you one extra one, Joe, because
I received an email.
the same thing on the email. What I was gonna do with that one is run that through the executive committee.
Yeah, so I just needed to mention it for the record because it wasn't, let's get it on the record.
Okay.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Jerry Erdman.
Yeah, for the next county board meeting, maybe you want to have TS switch that console over from a left hand to a right hand.
It doesn't really matter, Jerry, you know it. The problem is switching around, and if it don't work better next month, I think there's gonna be a broken window over there and it's gonna be laying out in the street, like most tech stuff. Sandy Stanky.
I guess this really might not be for a future meeting, but with the city, with our meetings, we actually couldn't go to the City of Shawano website, even if you're Susie Q or Bob, whoever, and they can actually touch the date of the meeting and see the agenda so they know whether they want to, be in attendance. I tried going on the Shawano City website or the Shawano County website. Nowhere does it have any meeting agendas. It just says the meeting's that time, but there's no agendas. Is there?
Oh, they should be on there, Sandy.
You're on the civic web? Are you on the Shawano County civic web?
Well, I'm just doing the Shawano County website.
think what Sandy's saying is it's not easily accessible.
It's not.
I mean, it's there, but it's not easy to find.
If you go
Okay.
to the county website, and there's a tab on there that says minutes and agendas, and it will tell you then that you need to click here for agendas after 2018. That's when we went on the Civic Web. It takes you to the Civic Web. It looks exactly like the Shawano City website for all of their minutes and agendas.
Okay.
And you can click on meetings, and you can get the whole listing of all 25 committees. You can see all of the agendas and attachments and all of the minutes, or you can use the calendar feature. So it is, you just have to, if you go to the
I'm
old
not real-
website.
yeah, I'm
And
not real
also, if you want
techno-savvy,
any
so-
agendas or minutes to any committees, you can e-subscribe to them, so that anytime I publish an agenda or minutes for any of the committees, you'll automatically get them on your email.
Oh, okay. I'm getting used to technology, so thank you for your help.
Okay, and along with that, that reminds me of one more thing besides this system. I got a bone to pick with IT is, does everyone else have the problem of when you get an email and you click on that email to open up the agenda that you've been sent, and then it says on there, click to open the full PDF? When I click on that, I get nothing. It does not open up the full PDF. I have to go to the agenda notes and open it up that way. I don't know if that's a problem specific to me, or if everybody else has that problem. Randy, you do too? Okay, well then they can look at that, because I believe you're looking for updates again. Okay, there's a good one to start with. Steve Geets.
Yes, there's been a lot of hubbub on social media about when we're going to bring this thing forward for the Second Amendment. Is it, under my understanding, it's going to be next month?
Yep, so everybody can bring all your patients, because we're probably going to be here a while, but we will do it next month to make everybody happy. And I won't be accused of pandering to unforeseen virus and other goodies or whatever. We'll get it over with. So,
Thank you, Tom.
yep. Any other questions? Joel, go
Say,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dan.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
For consideration at the next meeting, if the agenda could afford it, to have the SCEPI Director, Peter Philman, present himself to the board, introduction, and then a little follow-up on the status of things.
Sure, we can do that, Dan. We'll add that in, because besides that, it may be a later agenda usually this time of year. He came to the executive committee, and we have a very, very good man at the head of SCEPI now. Okay, yeah, no, he will be on the agenda for next month. I forgot to note that in the chairman's report. Is that it, Joel? Oh, Joel, you're waiting. Okay, go ahead, Joel. Get my Millers confused.
It's easy to do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to that agenda item on the next county board meeting, I specifically, a few months back before we went into COVID land, I specifically asked that the district attorney be present to answer any questions regarding that, because the sheriff is not the top law enforcement agent in the county. The district attorney is, by constitution of the state of Wisconsin. So I had asked for clarification for him to be present to clarify. Be very, and long story short, I was denied. Somebody else can comment as to why. But I thought it would be very beneficial for that, the DA to come here and address any questions. And my second point is, during the public comment period, is there any time frame that can be imposed so we are not hearing people or having people repeat themselves or anything there, so we can conclude this? Because this boardroom is small, and there are those of us that believe that COVID is still alive and well and kicking and spreading. So
That is one question I was going to ask Tony. Can I limit public comment to county residents only?
To county residents only?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, I don't think you could do that. I don't think that would be your basis, but you certainly could limit however else you want, so long as it's equal across the board and fairly applied. I don't think basing it on residency is something that you could do. But you know, you could give everybody 1 minute to speak.
I was just
And it's
thinking
gonna,
that.
because you know it's
this-
going to be repetitive.
That this board represents Shawano County, not a handful from Marinette, all over the state.
Right, I understand that, but in that representation, sometimes people from, a few miles across the border into a different county are affected by what we do. So I don't think from an equal protection standpoint, you'd be on solid ground there to limit it just to county residents or want to, have to check IDs from people to make sure that this is their primary home and things like that. Yeah, I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I would advise against it. But I would definitely recommend, a 1 minute timetable, I think would be plenty. Because again, by the time we get to the third or fourth person, there ain't going to be a heck of a lot of new ideas that haven't already been expressed a whole bunch of times.
Okay.
My comment was specifically with the district attorney to come, not during the public comment period, but when it comes to the floor, for us and us alone.
Okay.
So I ask questions.
All right, I'll check into it, Joe, and see.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Kathy Lubke. No, wait, that's right, Kathy is Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron, and then it's gonna show me that Kimberly's speaking. Are you using your mic on?
My mic is off.
Well, let's see. Gotta shut Kathy off. Try it now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, now it's gonna show Kimberly speaking. Okay, I got it right now.
So, I mean, any type of public health safety measures that we could do in a packed room, there's going to be a lot of people here, and there's going to be a lot of people speaking very loud and angrily and passionately. And I mean, are we going to be checking any temperatures before people come in? Are we going to require face masks from people? Just things that we can do to protect ourselves and the community in a small room like this. Or, I mean, suspending the rules to allow anybody to appear by phone if they may not feel comfortable for a packed meeting. I mean, those are all.
Okay. How about Randy's idea of we have the microphone in the back and they stay right in the back and talk?
Whatever is accessible and makes sense and best addresses safety issues, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Who's gonna hand the microphone around and take the beating if they need it? Brent?
I think by that time we could have a stand back there.
Okay. Yeah, an overflow can be in the hall, and perhaps this board will work by then. Not the county board, this board. And limit it to 1 minute. So, any other questions or comments? Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm gonna try Teresa. Now, is that you?
That would be me.
Is your mic on, or do we get somebody else?
I'm me. I don't
Okay.
need a. I knew that. I just wanted to do that. If you are expecting a huge crowd, maybe you want to consider moving it down to the Crawford Center and possibly having the back area available with a microphone on stand. And it would award the county nurse the opportunity to take temperatures upon arrival, just for safety and concerns that have been.
That's why I asked at the beginning of the meeting if the board, through my straw poll, would rather have the next meeting somewhere else or here. And the majority voted to stay here.
Well, I think they may have forgotten about the Second Amendment Act being put on the agenda.
I think I mentioned that on purpose, that we were going to have the Second Amendment next month. And then I asked if everybody thought we should have it here or elsewhere, and the majority decided to have it here.
You want to take a vote again?
Sure, we can check again. Do you think we should move somewhere else next month with the Second Amendment, or should we have it here? If you want us to move somewhere else, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4. We got 5. Meeting will be here. Deb Nofke.
Might be a question for Tony, if it would be in order or appropriate to possibly make a motion to suspend the rules for an additional 30 days to allow people to phone in. Especially considering.
Can't discuss that right now because it has to be on the agenda. That's why I
it's a
asked if we
question
would
for
have to
Tony.
put it on, if we wanted to put it on next month.
No, that's a question for Tony, because I think suspending the rules is appropriate.
Suspending the rules isn't something that I think is, action in the form of a resolution. It's not technically on our agenda, but I think that since it wasn't known to the chairperson beforehand, there are exceptions where you can actually go into closed session even without it being on the agenda. So I think if the chairperson was inclined to entertain a motion to suspend the rules for 30 days, I think you could do that and not offend the open meetings law.
I thought that's what I did at the beginning of the meeting also.
No, this would actually be a motion to suspend the rules for an additional 30 days in light of the expectation of a packed boardroom. You don't want to cheat the public from their day to say something, but you don't really, nothing we vote on is worth dying for.
I'm not cheating the public. I asked the board once already earlier in the meeting if they wished to.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for an additional 30 days.
We already had a straw vote, Deb, that said no. Yeah.
Mr. Miller doesn't. You just said he used his today.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for Dan, but do we change the start time now?
This is 30 days.
But do we change the start time? Do we start changing all the rules? That's not why we have rules. Anybody else? Arlen?
Yes, I was wondering if we have it at the other two places. I realize there's a lot more room there, but that sound systems out there is terrible. I mean, the way like out at even the park pavilion there, that echoes so when somebody talks, and that other one is just so big. The sound system is made for hockey and stuff like that. It's not made to hold a meeting.
Okay. I would like to move on from the issue of where we're going to have the meeting, because we decided twice already to have it here today, to have it next month. So I guess I got to make the executive decision, because that's why I got stuck up here. Randy Young.
Maybe we shouldn't have it on next month's agenda. I mean, we're not under a time frame or anything, and I know there's been some talk on social media about, the board skirting it and stuff, but if there's a health concern, maybe we shouldn't have it in July. Maybe we should have it in August or September, and if public don't like it, I mean, it's a health concern. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
It's not going to go away.
Right. It's not. So, I mean.
And neither is the new flu that's out there. We might as well have it and get it over with. Another one of them executive decisions. Any other comments? Okay. Then we are down to claim report, County Board of Supervisors. Pam?
With 26 members present, the total amount of mileage and per diem paid would be $2,375.51.
Is there a motion to approve? Oh, yeah, that's right. And out of respect for Ray, since you're sitting there, Kathy, yes. Motion by Kathy, second by Milt Markwart. If you are in favor then of per diem for today, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no.
Cam votes yes.
Hold on a minute. We need Arlen's voting fixed. We need Arlen's voting machine fixed.
Did you want to vote yes, Arlen?
Okay. We have 24 yes and 1 abstain. So the motion is carried. Next meeting date, July 22nd, 2020 at 3 p.m. Here with a second amendment on it. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Joe Miller, seconded by Teresa Serrano. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.